All right, so we're going to continue with absolute values, but today we're talking about inequalities. And remember, just to review, an inequality is a less than or a greater than, or a less than and equal and greater than or equal. And then just one other thing here when we're talking about review, remember with inequalities, we have a range. We're saying it's a range of values greater than or less than a certain value. So when it's just greater than or less than, remember we use parentheses. And when we add the equal, we use the brackets. So this comes back in this lesson because we're dealing with inequalities. So just remember this. So same thing that we see with an equality. So if we have an inequality, you must still write two inequality equations. All right, so a little bit different here, and I'm gonna show you this, and if you understand it, it's great, and if you want to do it the way we did equalities, that's great too. So when we say less than, so we've got this symbol, or less than and equal, this symbol, you see that this less than, we've got this little thing on here, just kind of a play on that word less than and made it and. And when we have greater, so greater or greater than equal, and I know this is spelled wrong, this is this play on or. So when we have an inequality, we can have an and, or we can have an or inequality. And it really has to do with the fact, is it less or is it greater? And so if you know that it is a less than, and we see this and right here, then we can write this as overlapping. And so what happens is when we do this, I can take this equation that I have right here and I can rewrite this and I can say, in this case, it's going to be negative 2 to 2. So on my number line, so I have negative 2 here and 2 here. And so this is less than, so it's this direction. And this is greater than, so it's this direction. So what we care about is everything that's in the middle. So we can write this inequality as negative 2, and then we're going to solve what's on the inside to 2. And so if you think about it, this value right here that I have is x. So with this particular inequality, my answer here is going to be negative 2 to 2 because they're both less than, right? So, well, this is less than, this is greater than, but because it's in the middle, when we went back to graph this, we say it's less than 2, so it goes this direction, greater than negative 2, so it goes this direction, so this is what's in the middle. So we can write it this way, because there's no equals, we can use parentheses. Now, when we use an or, I'm going to write my number line here again, and I have negative 2 and 2 because that's the numbers that I have here. And this says that we're going less than on negative 2, so I'm going this direction. And this is going to be greater than on 2, so it's going this direction. So what that means is that this part is included, this is my x, and this part is included because this is my x. All right? So when we have an and, when it's less than, it's in the middle between these two, and we can just draw a line between these two, and that's the area that's included. When we have an or when it's greater than, we have two regions. We have this region and we have this region. And so what we do on this one is we say it's negative infinity to 2, and then I start up again and I say 2 to infinity. So here I have two regions, this region and this region, and I'm going to write it this way. All right, all of our other rules for inequalities are all the same. We have to have this isolated to begin with. So I'm going to show you both ways to do this, and then you make a decision on what you want to do. Okay, so I would say if you are comfortable with equalities, if this made sense to you, I'm going to show you how to do that first. Or actually, I'm going to show you the other way first, and then I'll come back and show you this way. So here's what I have. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing that I had with an equality. And I'm going to write this as x plus 2 is less than or equal to 6. All right, so I didn't do anything. So this would be my positive. Now, when I do my negative, I have to flip the sign. So I'm going to make a note right here that when we do these, so in this case, up here, we're going to have to flip the sign for the negative. So on this one, what I'm going to have is x plus 2 is greater than or equal to negative 6. So here are my changes. My sign changed, and my value of my 6 went negative. So now I'm going to solve it the same way. So I'm going to say x is less than 4 because I subtract 2 from both of these. And here I'm going to say x is greater than or equal to negative 8 because I subtract 2 from these. Okay, so now I'm going to put this on a number line. So here's my 0. Over here I'm going to have a negative 8. Over here I'm going to have a positive 4. They have to be in order. I know I solved this one first, but 4 is bigger than negative 8. That's why we put it on a number line. Now this says that it's greater than, so my value here is including 8, and it's going this direction. This says it's including 4 because it's less than or equal, and it's going in this direction. So what I've done here is I've said that this value in between these two makes this inequality true. So when I write my answer for this, I'm going to say negative 8 to 4. It's everything between negative 8 and negative 4. Okay? And you can do every one of these this way every single time. Right? Now, let me show you another way that you can do this. So this is option 2. So option 2 is going to be over here, and I'll do this in a different color. So this is option 1. Here's option 2. I'm going to rewrite this right away, and I'm going to say if I know my value starts with 6, I'm going to make this a negative 6. So I know that because this is a less than, it's going to be something that looks like this. I'm going to have a less than number, and my x is going to be in the middle. So we just proved that when we solved it this way. But because it's a less than, I can go straight to this method. So what happens is I have to flip and the sign changes. All right, so this value of 6 now becomes negative 6. All right, so now I have everything that's in the middle. So x plus 2. And then on the other side, I'm going to say less than 6. So here's what I did. If I look at this part, x plus 2 is less than 6. That's what I have right here. This is a 6. Doesn't look very good. I think my pen's dying. So this x plus 2 is less than or equal to 6. All right? Now, on this side, I had to flip the sign, and then I have this negative 6. So now what happens is I'm going to solve these. Hold on, let me get a different pen. I'm going to solve these from the middle. So here I'm going to subtract 2, and I'm going to subtract 2, and I'm going to subtract 2. So what I have is negative 8 is less than or equal to x is less than 4. Because this is 6. This is kind of hard to see. I'm sorry about that. This is 6 minus 2, which is 4. So now I have this already here, and I just know that x is going to be between 8 and 4. Okay, so obviously this has fewer steps. You just have to make sure that you get the first step right, which is this one right here. All right, let's do one more greater than, and then we'll go back. So this is isolated. So I'm going to do it this way. All right, so what I know, I'm just going to write this guy first. So I have 4x plus 5 is greater than 13. Now on this side, what I'm going to do, hold on, I wanted to do a less than first. Hold on, we're going to come back. I'm actually going to erase that and come back. Let's go back up here. I want to do a less than first. It should just model what we just did. Sorry about that. All right, so here's what I have. I have 2x plus 1 is less than 9. Okay, now on this side, this 9 becomes a negative 9. All right, so now I'm going to solve what's on the inside, but I'm going to solve it to both sides. So if I subtract 1 in the middle, I subtract 1 on this side, and I subtract 1 on this side. So this gives me negative 10 is less than 2x is less than 8. So I have to do everything in the middle is what I'm solving. So if this is plus 1, it's minus 1, and I have to minus 1 on both sides. Just like when I did it this way over here, I didn't write this, but I subtracted 2, and then I subtracted 2 from both sides. Same thing. So now I'm going to divide this by 2, and divide this by 2, and divide this by 2. And I get negative 5 is less than x is less than 4. So because there's no equal sign here, I'm just going to say negative 5 and 4, and it looks like this. okay? All right, now let's go down here and do this, this greater than. So when I do a greater than, I'm going to separate this into two. So this becomes my positive. It's exactly the same. And my negative is going to be 4x plus 5 is less than negative 13. All right, so let's look at this. Here's what I had, positive 13. When I come over here to my negative side, it becomes sign change, negative 13. Now, remember, with an or, we have to do it two different ways. We have to have, because we know that with an or with a greater than, which is what I have down here, I'm going to have two regions. I know that right away. So when I solve this, I have 4x is greater than 8. And then I divide, and I get x is greater than 2. Now on this side, I have 4x is less than negative 18. And when I divide this, I get x is less than negative 18 over 4. And this reduces to negative 9 over 2. Now, what do I know about negative 9 over 2? So this is a yucky fraction, but this is the same as negative 4.5. Now, we're not going to write it like that, but let me show you why that's important. So here I have x is greater than 2. So I have my greater than sign, and it's going this direction. It's pointing in this direction. Now on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, my value is right here, right, at negative 4.5, and this is telling me it's less than, so I'm going this direction. So what makes this true? This makes it true, and this makes it true. So because there's no equal sign, my inequality is going to be negative infinity. Remember, that's what I have out here, negative infinity. And this is going to be positive infinity if it just keeps going. So negative infinity to this value, which is negative 9 over 2. And then nothing in here counts. So I have to stop my parentheses, and I have to start it again at 2, and I'm going to go to infinity. So here is my answer. Okay? Now, again, this one I had to solve using two equations, but with an and statement, I don't have to. I can go straight to this. So first thing you need to ask yourself on this one is, okay, this is a greater than, so great or means this or this, right? This or this is great or, so I know I'm going to have two of them. So I know that my only option is to split this into two. And remember, at this point, I'm going to switch my inequality sign and make my value negative, right? Switch my inequality to less than and make my value negative. So when I solve this, I get x is greater than 2, and over here, x is less than or equal to negative 10. Now, at this point, I don't need to draw a number line. You might see this. So what I see is that this is my negative number, so I'm going to be negative infinity to negative 10. It's included, so I have a bracket. I'm going to start up again at 2, and I'm going to go to infinity. Now, if the number line helps you and helps you see it, then do that, right? You don't want to make a mistake. All right, come and see me if you have any questions. Thanks.